Hello. Hello, everyone. We're really happy that you're all here tonight. We hope you enjoyed the movie as much as we did. We hope that you found it inspiring, that you learned something, that it helped you discover, or for others, rediscover some aspects behind this mythical genre. When I first came across this documentary, I knew right away that it had to be shown here in Belgium. I reached out to Pietro, which I didn't know at that time, and to the Palace team to organize this event, which they were really enthusiastic about. So it all started with a simple DM on Instagram to Pietro, and now here I am tonight, standing on the stage in the city I love to present a genre in a movie that is incredibly meaningful to me. Thank you. Before we get into discussion, I would like to take a moment to thank Pietro for making this beautiful documentary and for showcasing a genre that is not very known to many, but that is so crucial in the development of many other genres. I would like to thank the Palace team for hosting tonight's movie, because we couldn't dream of a better place than here to show you this movie. And last but not least, Patrick, thank you. Your trust and support mean everything to me, and inviting me to moderate tonight's movie means a lot to me. So this is truly humbling. Thank you, Patrick. So we're going to proceed with some questions. My first question will go to Pietro. Hello, Pietro.
Hi.
What inspired to create a documentary about E.B.M? Was it a completely new subject for you? Are you an E.B.M fan?
I was already a long
right.
time E.B.M fan. Let's say on a general, more broad sense, I was always 80s synthesizer music freak in a way, so I loved the synthesizer sound. And I nurtured both, let's say, the bright side of this synthesizer fetish, which was for me Italo disco, of course, not because I'm Italian, but because it was one that was like my bright side. But of course, I had my dark side, and the dark side was E.B.M in particular. So for me, after finishing the first documentary about Italo disco, came natural to focus on E.B.M as a genre, because I already loved the band very much. It was also a pleasure also to meet them personally, to hear their stories, to discover new things, and to work on this documentary.
Like I just mentioned before, this is the first ever documentary about electronic body music. How did you approach researching for such a genre that wasn't really researched before and developed? Was it a hard part? How did you do your research, collected all the archives and all the information?
It was a long process, but of course it helped the fact that I already knew the bands and the music of the bands at least. So I already was aware of the history and the timing when the genre was born, how it developed. So it was already a starting point. Then of course I had to have more dedication to contact the people, check for availability, search for archives, search for music. That was part of the long process. The film took like 5 years in the making. The very first interview was in 2019. I think it was with Mark of Split Second. And in the same year, I managed to also meet DAF in Barcelona. That was, of course, an honor to meet them, just a few months before the untimely passing of Gabi, which of course hit us hard as a fan in general. But it was an honor to collect their stories and have it in the documentary.
All right, Patrick and Jean-Luc, I have a question for you. So this documentary is showcased as the same day as your final show of your career, the last one. How does it make you feel? What emotions are you going through to close this significant chapter of your life?
Well, of course, it's extremely emotional. We always were close to our crowds, and our crowds were close to us. So it is really a mutual feast, let's say, because like yesterday, the show, like we had such a response. It's like really boosting us. Now, for me, it's like we do this concert and we try to give as much as we can, be as generous as the audience is. And I think the aftermath will come in a week or two, that I will get like the backlash of what is happening now. Now we're totally concentrated to the show. Yeah.
I think it's the same also for us. We're not really realizing it's really the end of the band. I'm still hoping it's not, but yeah, I suppose it's really hard for you. And looking back at those 40 years of career, what is a special moment or a special place or something that really stood out and you will remember forever?
I think it's going to be tonight.
Thank God I'm going to be there.
Because I must say on my side, I am not very emotional. I think that playing more, I would be too much. So we know what we do, we have chosen that consciously, and we thought it's going to be business as usual until the end. But these 2 last days and this third day, that's something really special. We didn't really expect that because everything just takes place quite fantastically. We had a great first concert with a great audience, and we thought, oh, tomorrow is going to be the same. No, yesterday it was much better. And we expect that tonight is going to be even better. So we are completely surprised by it. So I think that's probably the best moment that we are going to remember.
Yes, stay together. Just like more a personal question. Like, if you look back 40 years ago, what advice would you give to yourselves if you were starting now?
Well, I think we never looked backwards. We never looked in the past. We always wanted to go ahead, always ahead. And this is one of the keys, is trying to always renew yourself. But the word ethic, integrity is very important. Trying to maybe go from being a musician or a non-musician or whatever to try to reach something more artistic, like including the visuals, including the scenography. So this was something important for us, to always feel comfortable with what we were doing. And also financially, not going crazy and living in Los Angeles or whatever, you know.
Why want to live in Los Angeles if you have Brussels?
Yeah, there are fires, so that's not a good idea.
And also, what's next individually for both of you? Are you planning to pursue a career in music, or you want to do something completely different now?
We don't know. We have no plans, except privately, of course. First, we're gonna take a break, a long break. We are going to rediscover activities that we haven't done a lot in the past, because maybe of a kind of stupid pressure that we put on ourselves. Like, for example, going back to concerts, going back to the theater, to conferences, and to get involved much more in a general cultural life than what we did during the last 10 years. That is the main objective, and that's it. Beyond that, there's not much.
And I'm gonna ask the last questions to you guys, because I know your time is really precious. They have a really important show in a few hours, so if you could just summarize your whole career in one sentence, what would it be?
I think we owe so much to the people, because since the beginning we were never too much under scrutiny of the press. So it's really something that we all build together, this sort of crazy type of music or concert or events. And as today we have the proof that the emotion is still pure and pristine.
Yeah,
it's a long sentence, but...
Yeah, a really long sentence, but it works. Yeah, actually, you guys are one of the most solid fan bases I have ever seen. I've been to many shows of Front to Foot 2, and you guys are just fucking crazy. It's just amazing.
Thank you, everybody.
And
thank you. I know I only stereo.
Please give a last well-deserved applause for Patrick and Jean-Luc Demeyer.
See you later.
Quick picture. The Q&A is not finished, so for those who still want to stay. Pietro, so there's still both of us left. I have a question for you concerning the fact that your movie has been showcased in many countries and many festivals. How has it been received so far? What's the outback now?
It was received pretty good since its premiere in Berlin last September at Berga in Cantina. And it's something, of course, I hoped for because I knew there was a community, which I was also part of, who would have shown interest for the movie. And I must say it has been quite well received so far. So now it's getting also requests from countries where you wouldn't imagine that E.B.M is even followed that much, but in fact it is, like Mexico or Argentina or Eastern Europe. So it's crazy. It's all over the world, really.
All right, and we spoke about particular moments and special moments in Front 242's career, but was there a specific moment in the making of the documentary that really stood out? Do you have like a magic anecdote to talk about?
There is one for sure that actually is like let's call it a small miracle that actually helped the film being completed. And that is just before the interview I made with Front 242 in Brussels in 2022, was that. Basically, most of the interviews I made with the documentaries were made with a cameraman from Italy who also worked for me for Italo Disco Legacy. And I'm living in Germany currently. He's living in Italy. So we arranged, after of course agreeing the interview with the band, I arranged the travel also for him, so we had to meet the band at some point. But 2 days before the interview, he rings me up and says, Pietro, I'm dead sick. I cannot leave the bed. I cannot make it to Brussels. I'm sorry. And of course, the news sounded like catastrophe because I was not even sure if Front 242 would allow to postpone the interview. So I looked up hastily online to find someone who could take the job, possibly already located in Brussels, because of course it would have facilitated things. And so I looked up and noted a few names of people, of cameramen, and I sent, I think, no more than 5-6 emails, and out of 5-6 emails, 2 guys replied. One of them is Daniel Demoustier, which is here in the audience tonight. Hi, Daniel.
Please give an applause to Daniel.
And he basically, I explained, of course, in the email what the project was about, the interview with Front 242 and everything. But I checked also what he made, his previous work online, and he had he was making some serious cameraman job in war zones really heavy stuff. And I thought, okay, must be a great camera, but maybe the topic could be not so interesting to him because he's doing more serious stuff than music itself, and maybe it's too light, the topic and so on. But he replied and said, well, I actually know Front 242 because I was myself involved in the scene during the 80s. And I was the tour manager for Neon Judgment for 10 years. And so if you like, we can make the interview with Front 242, and then I can take you to T.B. Frank from Neon Judgment, and we can make an interview with him as well. And this, of course, was like a sign from above that, okay, this is going to happen, the film is going to be completed, but how likely is that in such a situation to find a miracle like that happening? So we made the interview with Front 242, and we were also taking good care of the sound from Joanna, his girlfriend, who took care of the sound during the interviews, and she worked as well during the post-production of audio sounds. So this very fortunate encounter actually made possible for the film to be completed.
So you not only found the cameraman, but you really found the guy that you needed.
The guys, and then later also friends, real friends. Thank you very much.
And I have one last question to you, Pietro. Do you have more projects revolving around music in the future? Because you made a documentary about E.B.M. Before that, about Italy Disco. What's next?
The next project should be the third and final part probably of the synthesizer electronic music from the 80s trilogy. And it will be revolving around minimal synth sounds. So from let's say end of 70s, like the normal Warm Leatherette, which could be maybe the track from the year zero of the minimal synth sound, to modern bands who are also bringing this kind of music further nowadays.
All right. So good projects in view. Perfect. Does anybody else have a question to Pietro that he would like to ask, maybe? Don't be shy. No? All right.
No.
Hello. I had just one question. I think I noticed some pictures coming from other interviews and movies I saw about different bands. Is that true, or was your film all about original materials, interviews you made with the different bands?
Yes, I mean, the original material mostly came from live concerts, which were shot in different locations, for example, in Berlin, but also in Barcelona at Ombra Festival. But for all other kinds of archive images, of course, I have to contact the owners and ask for permission.
All right, there was a lady there that also had a question.
Where is the lady?
There.
I don't know how do you say that in English, but qu'est-ce que vous avez découvert avec votre documentaire?
Have you discovered something while making the documentary that you didn't know before?
Yeah, for sure. There were lots of stories. Some of them couldn't be even included in the documentary for timing issues, because of course I wanted to keep it as much compact and effective in general, but there were really also funny anecdotes, for example, regarding Neon Judgment and one specific concert they made, I think in Switzerland, Daniel, where basically the band took mushrooms before, but let's say they took all their mushrooms before entering Switzerland because they were afraid of getting caught by the police border. And so he said basically when we came on stage, it was like Alice in Wonderland. And they were so psyched up. But at some point, Frank had a problem with the mic stand. and he couldn't get it fixed. At some point, he gets so nervous about it that basically he took the guitar amp, and threw it, because this was in front of the lake, maybe it was an open air concert, and threw it not at the audience, but in the direction of the lake, and then walked off stage. And I remember saying I walked out of stage, it was like Moses opening the Red Sea. The people were just open.
Magic of drugs. All right. Does anybody have another question? Here, yeah.
Hi. It was also mentioned in the film, this phenomenon of the two scenes of E.B.M on techno, obviously hardly ever getting in touch with each other. And I've seen it myself. I have friends who are into indie rock. They know the Nine Inch Nails. They go to techno raves, but they are only now getting to learn about the existence of E.B.M. So since techno sort of, at least partly evolved out of E.B.M, I found it still quite an inexplicable phenomenon. So do you have any sociological explanation or any any idea how that's possible?
Well, maybe not really sociological explanation. I wouldn't go that far, but I guess that techno just took influences for different genres, of course, not only E.B.M. When I made the Italo Disco documentary, many producers and DJs said the same thing about Italo Disco. So basically that Chicago house guys and Detroit techno guys were influenced by the early Italo Disco track. So it was like, at least the techno pioneers were absorbing this kind of dance electronic sound and incorporating that in their music. And that happened to a certain extent also with E.B.M, especially during these revival waves that came in the early 2000s, and lately there are many young DJs and producers who are kind of bringing this sound further and making it fresh again, like Chris Barr, for example, and many others from the new generation. So it was probably not really a coincidence that the two genres kind of live parallel lives for a while, but then they cross their path now and then. It's part of this revival cycle that, of course, occurred to Italo Disco, but also to E.B.M as well. While techno, is always kind of there, but it takes now and then what they kind of like. But more importantly, the techno pioneers, of course, picked probably the best part from both genres.
And that's why another example how showcasing to people, showing people that E.B.M is really an important genre, that music, like you just said, music like techno and other electronic genres picked in E.B.M. And not many people know that, especially young generation. That's why I think it's so crucial to make a documentary about it and to show also the younger generation how important this genre really was. Okay, I have all my questions to you, Pietro. I ask all my questions. Thank you. This documentary is more than just a look back at history. It's a celebration of a movement that changed music forever. Its pulsating beats, raw and dark energy, and visionary creativity have left an indelible mark. And tonight's screening has given us a chance to celebrate and honor its pioneers and its legacy. For me, this movie is a love letter to a genre that has not only shaped dance floors, but entire movements in music, culture, and politics. And there couldn't have been a better day than today to show this documentary, because just like I said before, today we're not just celebrating a documentary and a genre, we're celebrating the end of a beautiful 40-year-old career of Front 242. So for those who were lucky enough to get a ticket to their long-time sold-out show, see you 50 meters from here at the Ancienne Belgique. And for those who weren't, just keep on spreading the energy and the passion of this genre and keep on letting this legacy live forever. Thank you.